Hello ladies and gentlemen, my name is David Shirk, and today you'll be seeing the presentation Look to the Stars, Science Fiction and the Future of Humanity. To begin, we're going to start off with a short video of Star Trek The Next Generation.
Space, the final frontier. These are the voyages of the Starship Enterprise. Its continuing mission to explore strange new worlds, to seek out new life and new civilizations, to boldly go where no one has gone before.
Alright, so that's kind of like a fun way to start off this presentation. To seek out new life and new civilizations, and to explore strange new worlds, and to boldly go where no one has gone before. That is the mission of the USS Enterprise. However, today my mission is to tell you the science fiction technology that we see in science fiction, and how that technology will eventually become real, and how we're going to progress through the various levels of civilization. But to begin, I want to start with a fun activity. I want all of you audience members to, I'm going to say a word, and I want you to say the first words that come into your head, alright? First word, technology. Second word, the future. Third word, science fiction. Alright, thank you. Alright, so my thesis. Due to the human drive for technological advancement, humanity will be able to meet and exceed the conceived technology seen from a variety of science fiction mediums. This will cause humanity to flourish as it progresses through the different levels of civilization and evolution. So to begin, what is science fiction? How do you define it? Science fiction is a genre in literature and film, and it is described as any fiction that depicts future scientific or technological advancements and major social or environmental changes. So up here we have a few examples of science fiction. Of course, Blade Runner, made in the 1980s with Harrison Ford. This depicts a Type 1 civilization, a civilization that is completely mastered its home planet and has used technology to its fullest on its home world. In Blade Runner, Harrison Ford has to kind of stop a group of cybernetic cyborgs that have sort of gone rogue. And then we have 1984 by George Orwell. 1984 is another, it's a novel about a Type 1 civilization in which a ruling class of 2% of the population have actually sort of enslaved the remaining 98% of the population through the use of technology, telescreens, etc. And then last but not least, we have one of the most famous science fiction works ever made. That is Star Trek. Star Trek is a Type 2 civilization, and Star Trek is about what happens once humanity has mastered Earth and it has started space travel, and it's actually begun colonizing worlds. So, through this presentation, we'll be talking about the different levels of civilization and the different works that are seen through science fiction. So to begin, how do you classify a civilization? What characteristics does it have to meet in order to be declared a certain level as opposed to another one or whatever? Well, in the 1960s, a Russian astronomer named Andrei Kardashev made something called the Kardashev scale. The Kardashev scale was an attempt to categorize civilizations based on the amount of technology, not the amount of energy that they are able to produce and consume at any given time. However, theoretical physicists since then have also added different characteristics to each civilization, such as cultural, militarily, political, economic, and other technology characteristics. When Kardashev first made his scale, he had 3 levels of civilization. Type 1, planetary, Type 2, interstellar, and Type 3, galactic. However, today you'll also see more levels, types 4, 5, and 0. So to begin, where are we? Where are current day humans? We are actually at a Type 0. A Type 0 civilization relies mostly on non-renewable resources, like fossil fuels. And another characteristic of it is that it has wars within itself. A lot. A lot of human history is warfare. It's one of the things we've been best at ever since the beginning of warfare. And one can look back through history and look that all human history has been really a long chain of civil wars within the species. Now, why is this? Why do we act so primally? The reason is because humanity is an infant. On this right here, we have the geologic clock. The geologic clock takes the amount of time that Earth has been at this particular point in space, and it plots it on a clock. The Earth has been around for 4.6 billion years. That's a really long time. And then you see at around 4 billion years with the purple circle, we have the first signs of life. At around 230 million years ago, we start to have the first dinosaurs, and they're all gone by 65 million years ago. Now, if you look up on this very top of this line, you'll see a very, very small sliver of red. As a matter of fact, you won't be able to see it because you're just too far away. It is extremely small, and that represents humanity. Humans have only been on Earth for roughly 2 million years. That is not a lot of time at all. We are in our youth as a species and as a people. And as any infant, we make a lot of mistakes. However, the point of making mistakes is to learn from them. And over the years, we have learned from at least some of our mistakes. And as time progresses, we will learn from more of our mistakes, and we will progress to Type 1. However, right now I want to briefly mention my service learning project. It'll take place at the Birmingham Senior Center, April 28th from 5 to 8 p.m. What we're going to be doing is we're going to have the senior citizens there bring in all of their Apple technology. So laptops, iPhones, iPads, tablets, whatever. And we students are going to show them how to use the technology, even if it's very simple stuff like how to use surf the web on an Apple product, or check your email, or what is an app. Anything they have questions on, we're going to help them with. Alright? So April 28th, 5 to 8 p.m. Now, after a Type 0, of course there was Type 1. Type 1 civilization is basically a planetary civilization. You could look at me and say, well, humans are everywhere in the world, basically. And that's true. However, a Type 1 civilization is just more than having members of its species everywhere in the world. It's about having an entire unified planet. Type 1 is where the dominant species on the planet has already emerged, and it's mastered its home world. It uses mostly renewable resources. It has a unified planetary government. It has a unified military structure. and it has technology that places emphasis on being globally united. We are lucky enough, you and I, we are lucky enough to be alive in a time where we are seeing some of the biggest transitions from type 0 to type 1. Where do we see these transitions? There are several examples. Of course, up here we have NATO, the North Atlantic Treaty Organization. NATO was originally developed to fight communists back in the mid-1900s. However, today it has many member nations, all with one doctrine. If an attack on one is an attack on all, an attack on one of us is an attack on all of us. That's a type 1 way of thinking, where you're not just standing up for you or your small group of people, but you are standing up for everyone, everyone worldwide, so that if one person is attacked, it's an attack on all. And then, of course, we have the European Union next to that. The European Union is a group of European nations that have exclusive trading rights, and they all have one thing in common. They all use the euro. That's the beginning of a type 1 currency. And then, of course, on there we have the symbol of the United Nations. The United Nations isn't very effective today at all. However, given time, it will be more effective, and the United Nations, where every country in the world sends its representatives in order to talk about and debate and amend conditions of humanity, that's the beginning of a type 1 political entity. And then last but not least, we have the internet. The internet is arguably the greatest type 1 technology that we have developed yet. The internet uses its processes, and it allows for almost near instantaneous exchange of information, thoughts, ideas, and knowledge across anywhere in the world at any time. The two biggest languages on the internet are English and Mandarin, the beginning of a type 1 language. And then what's after type 1? We have type 2. So in type 1, that's when we start getting the first spaceships off the ground. And in type 2, we really use space travel to go where no one has gone before, just like the crew of the Enterprise in Star Trek. Type 2 civilization is all about, okay, we've already mastered our home planet. What's next? We develop more space travel, and we start colonizing other worlds, seeking out new civilizations, exploring strange new worlds, and going where no one has gone before. That's what a type 2 civilization is. And of course, type 2 is the level of Star Trek. Star Trek has the Federation at its heart, at its core. The Federation is composed of not only humanity, but also a number of other species that are almost too many to name. And the Federation all has the common principle of supporting each other. An attack on one is an attack on all. Joint exploration of space and sharing of knowledge. That's really what a type 2 civilization looks like. And in addition to that, type 2 is the level at which species start to bump into each other. That's when we discover alien life. So we'll undoubtedly be joined by friends. Of course, at the bottom we have Spock, who is a Vulcan, and we have Lieutenant Commander Worf, who is a Klingon. Those are just two different species. And of course, as countries do today, we will actually begin to compete with other alien species. So we'll compete for things like territory and resources and political standing, and just like countries do today on Earth. That's really what a type 2 civilization is all about. And as type 1 civilizations use renewable resources as the energy supply, type 2 civilizations can harness the power of a sun. That is an astronomical amount of power. If you built an ice bridge from where I'm standing all the way to the sun, and it's 2 miles long and 1 mile deep, all the way from here to the sun gives off enough energy to melt the entire ice bridge completely in 1 second. That's how much energy we're talking about here. Astronomical amounts of energy. And then after this colonization has begun and we kind of sort out our differences as we meet other species, we will begin to form a Type 3 civilization. Type 3 civilization is the level of Star Wars. So in Type 2, we've started exploring the galaxy, our home galaxy, and we've bumped into other species and other civilizations that are Type 2. And at Type 3, we come together and we form a galactic community with those species, just as in Star Wars. Of course, you have humanity, you have Hutts, you have... yeah, there's just too many to name, really, because they've all formed a galactic community, and they've all come together. A Type 3 civilization can harness the energy of an entire galaxy. So all of the suns in the galaxy and all of the planets within it, a Type 3 civilization can harness the energy of it all. And in addition, they develop space travel that's of course superior to a Type 2, which allows for very easy galactic travel. At a Type 4 civilization, there's really not any science fiction source to compare it to. A Type 4 civilization is universal. It's a universal scale civilization. So we started from our home planet, we mastered it, we started colonizing other worlds, we formed a community with other species in Type 3, and now we explore the entire universe and all of the galaxies within it. In addition to using the energy found in a star, we can also start to harness the energy of quasars and black holes, which are pretty similar. Quasars usually hold black holes, and black holes are basically sandpits in space. When a black hole occurs, it sucks in everything around it. Everything. Nothing escapes a black hole because it has infinite density and it just pulls everything into it. Not even light escapes a black hole. That's why it's called a black hole. There's an absence of light. Now, what you might be saying, there's no way that he can go on after this. There's just no way. I mean, he's gone through the entire universe. What else is there? Well, we have the Type 5 civilization, which is the level of the multiverse. The multiverse is a theory in physics. It's more of a hypothesis. The multiverse states that we, right now, are living in our own universe, this one universe. And at the same point in space, but in different times and with a different sequence of events, there's a number of infinite possibilities. There's a number of infinite universes that are occupying the same space. Let me give you an example. There's something called the butterfly effect. The butterfly effect states that a butterfly hundreds of miles away from a hurricane can change the hurricane's trajectory and path just by flapping its wings, even though it's an inconceivable amount of change, but that has consequences for the future. You're like, Dave, you're making nonsense. Let me give you an easier example. So one day there's a little girl sitting in the park. Let's call her Jane. Now Jane sees a butterfly. It flies really close to her face and she gets a really good look at it and she is mesmerized by this butterfly. It's so beautiful and its wings have such great colors and patterns, and that really sparks an interest in her in science. She becomes inspired to really love science. She goes through school. Eventually she goes on to college. She starts going into the medical field. After college, she becomes a world-renowned doctor and researcher, and she discovers the cure for cancer, and forever rids cancer from the human race forever. Now, what if the butterfly that she had seen that one day in the park had been killed 5 seconds before she saw it? Jane would have never been inspired to go into science. Jane never would have studied the medical field in college. And Jane definitely would not have discovered the cure for cancer. That story gives you perspective onto how much can change just from one small, seemingly insignificant event. Even something as small as a butterfly in a park can change the course of human history. That's the power of history and the power of time. And that theory is the multiverse. That there is the scenario that she cures cancer, and there's also the scenario that the butterfly was killed 5 seconds before she saw it. They take place in the same point in time, but they're in different realities. And there is an infinite number of realities that happen with whatever you could imagine and more. So that's the theory of the multiverse, and a Type 5 civilization can explore the multiverse. That's the amount of energy that they can produce and consume. For science fiction, we see a Type 5 civilization in the Q